For the past years and for the years to come, we have been dealing with a big shortage of software developers. Especially if you're not one of the big names in the industry, it's becoming more and more difficult to hire and retain talent. Companies spend a fortune on marketing for their development vacancies and on recruitment fees, while clients and competitors keep pushing them to innovate and further improve their products. Does one of the following sound recognizable? You have a great product, and you have a lot of clients demanding new features. You want to do this, only you don't have the development capacity to deliver fast enough. You want to launch a new product, but all of your development capacity is taken by your existing products. Your product is already around for a while, and you would like to leverage some of the new technologies that were introduced recently. Finally migrate that big monolith, but your entire team is occupied with the maintenance of the existing product. Why do we still put up with this? Because we have no choice? I think there is a choice. The choice you have? Get some of your capacity abroad. Alright, now before I continue, I should make something clear here. I don't own or work for a company that delivers developers abroad. I'm not being paid to share this story with you. I'm just trying to help here. The reason that I am sharing this story with you is that working with teams abroad worked out great for me and some of the organizations I've worked with. I still notice some resistance and prejudices when I bring this up to people struggling to find software developers, so I decided to list the top 10 out here and maybe provide some answers as well. Alright, first one. Somebody I know tried it once and it didn't work out for him. It was a big nightmare. Well, just like with a local team, some things work and some things don't. Unfortunately, the success stories are maybe shared less often because, hey, I have a great team that does an awesome job, is far less juicy than the big failure stories. This is also why I'm sharing my story with you. I've worked with a few teams, some on the European continent, some on the Asian continent. My story is everything except a nightmare. The teams I've worked with delivered high quality, user-friendly software, in some cases even in a language the team didn't understand, Dutch. I'll share how we achieved this in my next post. Or if you can't wait, just shoot me a message. Alright, second one. It's too expensive, you have to pay a consultancy hourly rate. Well, this one's simple. No. Of course, there are differences in price and quality between the different nearshore and offshore development companies, so I can only speak based on the experience I had. Now, I have had to make this calculation a number of times, and each time a team abroad was more or less at the same cost as a local team. If you take the salaries, the employer's expenses and workplace costs for a local team, then a team abroad is usually a little cheaper, but then there's travel and some more effort to be put in communication, so that levels out the difference. Okay, third one. They deliver poor quality. Now, that's interesting to hear. With the teams I worked with, the local teams and the teams abroad would set the quality bar together, so they worked according to the same standards. They would also review each other's code to validate it against their standards and to learn from each other. If working with a remote development team would just mean submitting your specs and wait what comes out at the end, then you might be taking a risk here. If you collaborate on quality, technology and specifications, then you have a bigger chance of success. The offshore and nearshore companies I've worked with actually promote or sometimes even require this way of working. Number 4. There are cultural differences. Yes, of course there are cultural differences. There are even cultural differences within a tiny country like the Netherlands. Different cultures and habits are really interesting to learn more about, so definitely spend some time to get to know each other's cultures. In a lot of cultures, a hierarchy structure is very clearly present. So there you are, the client. Chances are that this will introduce a wait-and-see attitude with the team, constantly waiting for you to make the call. But if you are aware of this, you can work with it. Right from the start, you have to put some effort into trust, open communication and collaboration, and work towards an open team culture. Number 5. They say yes and do no. This is also one I hear quite often. The risk of the team starting development too early while they didn't quite understand the problem yet. Maybe it's because they're not yet comfortable in asking, so also what I already said in the previous point applies here. put effort into trust, open communication and collaboration. It's also worth emphasizing to take the time to explain the business and the problem the team is going to solve. Simon Sinek's Golden Circle can help you out here. Start with why. Why are we doing this? How are we going to do it? And what are we going to do? 6. I want knowledge of this new technology in my local teams. Cool. Then this might be the solution for you. Hire the knowledge in your team abroad. Let the expert over there do the heavy lifting and let your local team learn from the expert abroad. This way, you can get a head start and hands-on experience. You can benefit early because implementation has already started. Besides that, you don't have to hire an expensive consultant or spend loads of money in training before you can even start. Number 7. Remote communication is difficult. Of course, it's easier if you can just walk up to someone to discuss something. With your team being in another office or even on another floor, this adds some difficulty to communication, let alone when they are in a different country. But awareness is key in this case. It's an easy pitfall to communicate less than necessary when your peers are not in your direct neighborhood. But in my experience, if teams are coached on this awareness and they are well equipped for remote communication, they find a way that works pretty quickly. There are limitless possibilities to facilitate remote communication, so technology won't be your limiting factor. Number 8. I don't want to put this effort and domain knowledge into a temporary team. Now, hold on a minute. Who said this team would be temporary? You were about to hire people yourself, right? You were spending a fortune on marketing for your vacancies and recruitment fees to expand your local team for the long term. So, build a long-term partnership with a good offshore or nearshore company and build a great team. Now back to the domain knowledge part. Since you will be able to build your team faster, it's more efficient to transfer the domain knowledge to the team instead of having to do it over and over again for each new developer you hire locally. Number 9. I don't like to travel. Alright, now that might become an issue. Personal contact with your team is essential for a good relationship and smooth collaboration. My advice is to have in-person contact at least every quarter. If there is a reason to do this more often, great. This can be the team visiting you or you visiting the team. Ideally, there's a 50-50 balance. If you really don't want to travel, maybe someone else can go on your behalf. Then you can catch up with the team when they come over. Final one, number 10. There's a language barrier. Yep, chances are that your remote team's native language is different than yours, so your communication and backlog will most probably be in English. In my experience, this worked out fine. Some of the teams I've worked with even worked on an entirely Dutch software application. As with everything, it might take some getting used to in the beginning, but in general you will find a way that works pretty quickly. Besides that, you've been able to follow this video from a Dutch guy giving his best shot to explain things in English up until this point. I'm just saying. And remember, you now have a team actually building your software. Normally you would probably still be looking for developers at this point. Well, that would be it for this moment. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you think it can be helpful to others, feel free to share it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I will soon release a second video where I will explain on how to jumpstart your remote team. I hope to see you then.